Hey Fix listeners, I want to take a minute to give you all an update on our DPO, Smile Now Dental Group. In case you haven't heard, we've been opening up locations all across the country for doctors just like yourselves. We started several offices this year to show proof of concept, and it's been off to the races ever since. So, if you're looking for an equitable partnership opportunity where you can have a profitable business that supports you doing full arch, I'd love to hear from you. We're looking to add several locations in the next year and want to offer the training and support necessary to make one of those yours. If you'd like to learn more, you can go ahead and hit me up on Instagram at Dr. Tyler J. Tolbert, or shoot me an email at tyler@smilenowdentalgroup.com and say hey. Now, without further ado, let's get back to the show. My name is Dr. Tyler Tolbert.
And I'm Dr. Soren Poppy,
And you're listening to the Fix Podcast.
your source for all things implant dentistry.
Hello, and welcome back to the Fix Podcast. We have a celebrity on with us today, Dr. Justin Moody. I wanted to welcome him to the show. Justin, thank you so much for coming on today. This is a huge full circle moment for me. You actually kind of started off my whole implant journey. You probably don't even remember.
Of course.
But this was back in, must have been, I think this was probably the summer of 2018. I got a scholarship of sorts to go through Implant Pathway. So I was a D2 and did the online part and part one, then came out for parts 2 and 3 in Seattle. I'm now in the P&W again, which is an amazing thing. And now you're on my implant podcast. And it's just been really incredible to see all that come full circle. You really, gave me the implant bug and I was never able to look past it. So, here we are, and I can't thank you enough for coming on.
Of course. I've always enjoyed everybody that comes through the place. And, there's, to be honest, there's, not that many that take that journey, like starting in, dental school. And,
yeah.
We don't know what we don't know. Right. And
Right.
I mean, I just remember dental school is a little different today than it was, it was different in 18 than it is today. But,
Right. Yeah.
in the 90s when I was in dental school, like, God, I don't know if there was enough pizza and beer to get me to attend some kind of function that had to do with learning outside of dental school. So,
Right.
hats off to you and anyone that does that.
Sure. No, I appreciate it. So for anyone who doesn't know, I guess you've been living under a rock if you don't. So Dr. Justin Moody, among his many accomplishments, is infamous for starting the Implant Pathway, which is now known as Pathway. Is it just?
That's
Pathway
one
now?
of the names. Yep.
Everyone knows what it is. So this is really the premier implant education continuum that has sprawled out. It started off with just, getting doctors into placing implants, I guess just with your simple abundant bone, single implant. And now, Dr. Moody just sat down with us and was like, yeah, we had all kinds of stuff going on. We got remote anchorage with Dr. Dan Holtzclaw. He's been on the show before. We had, you guys got a CEREC course going on. You've got a fast track going on all at the same time. And we're certainly going to get into all the things you got going on, but it is a really amazing thing that you guys have built over there in Tempe, Arizona. And I can't wait to kind of get into the full story of it and, where it's been, where it's come, where it's going, things like that.
Cool.
I want to thank you too. I just got back from Napa about a month ago, and I don't know if you remember, but I reached out for some recommendations. So I hit Brasswood. I had the pulled mozzarella, did Ghost Block.
Wow.
I did all the recs. Man, it was delicious. You nailed all of them, and
Awesome.
we had a great time there.
Well, I didn't know. I guess I didn't realize you'd had already been there before this. So, I think everybody should have like this passion project, right? Like there's no doubt, that I am, continue to be, passionate about, implant dentistry. And, I think my niche, kind of has settled out into, my job is to excite people into implant dentistry. When Pathway first started, I taught all the courses. I taught the fast track. I taught the full arch course that we did, and the sinus course and the complications course. And as we've grown, so as our faculty and mentor base has grown with us, and I've settled into. I just need to excite doctors into getting into implant dentistry. and get out there and nail some ones and twos and some abundant bone, and I'll ruin a good share of dentists into never wanting fillings, crowds, and hygiene checks again. Don't follow the way of you guys. I did the full arch, and I couldn't be more proud of that. But I'm also super proud of the doctors that have gone through and they drop singles that are dead center, parallel to the contact points, put a screw retain crown at the access hole dead center. Like those are all great things. And
that's harder, by the way. That's harder than anything we do in full arch.
Listen, like I Monday at the fast track, I start out with telling them, I don't want you to start with number 8. And as a matter of fact, like if I finished my dental career and I didn't do another 8 or 9 in my career, like I'm good.
Yeah.
Like I like that's some hard ass implant dentistry, right?
Oh yeah,
it is.
Over these years, I'm going to circle back to the Napa thing. Sometimes opportunities show up, and I had the opportunity to buy a distressed property from a fire, back in 2020 in Napa, and today we've got we got a winery under construction, and the goal of that is to create an environment where obviously we'll probably cater to dentists. The thousands of people that have taken Pathway, and probably more than that, that know who we are, and dentists, we tend to be, we tend to like wine, and many of the it is as a dentist, like you do have a good wage, and you can
splurge a bit,
afford to scale up on the wine, and I've just it's one of my passions as well, and I'm super passionate about, like, I'm glad you had a great experience, because that's that's what's going out there is supposed to be, and those places. Like there's Brasswood restaurant. They also have a winery there, and they have an off the menu thing called the pulled mozzarella, and they come and they cut it and they literally pull it, and then they set it on this toasted almost baguette type thing, and like,
oh, you would have liked it, Tyler.
If I'm out there by myself,
sure.
like I may just have that and a glass of wine for dinner, and that's like it.
There you go.
Yeah, no, we had an excellent time. Unfortunately, it did end with a couple cases of wine coming to my house, and then I had to get a wine fridge. So now I'm full on board. I'm like, it was so good. What they do is they get you to have 4 or 5 tastings, and then before you know it, you got a case coming to your door. But we had, such a good time. It was really fun, and all your recommendations were excellent. St. Helena was great. And then we went to, I don't know if it's called the Cook too. That was really good.
So, Cook is the locals restaurant. It's not. So imagine, like, Napa having all these millions of tourists a year and catering to the tourists. Cook restaurant in downtown St. Helena isn't open on Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah.
Like imagine a high-end, like, chef inspired restaurant that is not open on Friday and Saturday night in this environment. And it is because the restaurant is for the locals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what he said. He said that he doesn't want to serve on weekends, so he just does weekdays. He doesn't care about having a huge crowd in there, and he just serves good quality Italian, like pasta. It was delicious.
But think about that as it correlates to the jobs that we do. Like I don't want to work on weekends either. Right.
Yeah.
And
right.
But you think about it, like, what he's done is he's created an environment and a job in which it works for him.
It's a lifestyle restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. Like it's your work-life balance restaurant. Like I'm not gonna blow my Friday and Saturday night every day for the rest of my life, serving other people. So that's my night to have date night.
Yep.
Why can't I have date night on Friday night or Saturday night, or go travel on a weekend or whatever? So I think there's always, like, great correlations between, like what we perceive to be the norm and what is possible for anyone to go create.
Yeah.
He went and created a restaurant that that he has his weekends free. What an amazing job, right?
And it's funny because that's kind of what I mean. Just saying like a correlation. Like one of the reasons I got into dentistry in the first place was because I was looking for work-life balance, and then I got into dentistry, and I was like, I don't know if the like fillings thing is for me. I really like surgery, so it's what's nice about dentistry is you can kind of tailor yourself into whatever avenue you want, and you can have a really nice work-life balance off that. If you love to do root canals, you can start a practice, do an endo every day. Maybe you only want to work 3 days a week. It's an option for you. And that's a really cool thing that I think we're able to do as dentists is you can find your niche. You don't have to work 6 days a week. You can kind of tailor it based on what kind of income you want. And you could still be very successful. I know dentists that work 2 days a week and they still do absolutely fine. And it's pretty cool that we're able to do that. And very similar to the chef at Cook. He wanted this for his restaurant. He made it happen. He figured out how to make it successful by tailoring to the local crowd instead of the tourist. Is that like could his restaurant be more successful if he wanted to expand a bit? Probably, but he's not interested in that, and that's okay too. He's probably much happier just doing Monday through Thursday.
Isn't that, like you think about like the correlations to, what we do, because, dentistry, I don't care if you're doing what we call bread and butter dentistry or if we're doing implant dentistry or whatever it is, the job is tough, and it gets tough when you cycle the hamster wheel. And, to your point, right? Like, he could probably make a tremendous amount more money by being open Friday and Saturday and catering to the tourists and then working with the car services and all the other things. But it's not what he chooses to do. And it keeps him sane, because, I think that, I think about this all the time, and what inspires me to the tasting room and the winery aspect is, when you woke up in Napa, were you mad?
No, I wasn't mad.
No, what I'm getting at is like now think about your patient that's going to wake up tomorrow morning for a dual arch.
Mm-hmm.
Are they happy?
Probably anxious, but maybe excited to get on the other end, but scared
for sure, right?
Yeah.
Right. But let me ask you this: like, when they came to your office, like, did they be like, "Hey, doc, like, how are you? Like, what makes you tick? Like, how'd you build this office? Like, how'd you get here? How'd you go to dental school? Like all the things."
No,
but think about you going into a winery in Napa, like. Those are like all the things that you want from them, right? You're just like, tell me, like what's your story? Like where do the grapes come from? How they get here? Who owns it? Like all these things, because the mindset is, I want the story.
Yeah.
And I want, I want the experience. And I was telling the class on Monday, the fast track class, I said, John Coyce, is one of my, dear friends and mentors. And like he, for 20 years now, maybe more, but like, since I took the thing, dating me, he talked about dentistry. We're like the hitman, like we go in there and we tell the doctor, we tell the patient all the things that are wrong, and, it's going to cost money and it's going to cost time and it's going to cause pain and all these things. So they get this upsetness, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like, it's like, hey, doc, no offense, but, I hate the dentist.
Yeah.
Great. Right.
First thing.
like maybe I want to go out as a dentist, be going like, hey, like next time someone tells me that, I'll be like, hey, patient, like, I don't like patients.
Yeah. Right.
Just drop the drill and walk out, but there's a, that, it go back to, that's what makes this job tough, is that you've got the business side of dentistry, right? Like you got to make payroll and you got to like provide for your family and service your loans and things like that. it's kind of like this triangle, right? Like you've got the act of being a dentist at the top, like having a skill set of doing like the amazing quality dentist and helping patients. But then you've got like the base of the triangle that holds that up, and the base is business, like which are separate. Like you do enough of this up here, like it should feed the business, but we're scientists by nature, and we're not always the best business people, so like we learn on the fly, and like we got to be conscious of that. And then I think the other piece that holds us up is the being in us, like the ability to communicate with that patient and like have a relationship, with them that allows them to be served, by you, and lets you, do the work that they need to have done. And like, if you think about, if you don't have three good corners of that triangle, like you're not getting where you want to be. You're not going to be as successful as you could be. And, we're not all born with all of those. And those are things that we, I know we got on a little bit of a tangent, but business and business, but then at the end of the day, like we're still in a customer service business.
Absolutely.
And it's what makes dentistry tough.
It is. Yeah. I agree 100%. One thing I've talked about on the podcast before that I enjoy about, at least full arch dentistry, this in this podcast is full arch dentistry kind of focused. And I would say something that I've enjoyed a lot that kind of transitioned me into full arch dentistry was I kind of got sick of whenever I told a patient that something was wrong, they, it's like, I'm like, hey, you're doing an oral exam and they have a tooth that needs a filling. They're just like, oh, like, man, this is why I hate the dentist, is because
you gave them.
Yeah, I gave them a problem. And there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing more fulfilling though about having an office where the patients seek me out because they want a solution to a problem that they already know of. And I think it probably is the same thing with like, I don't do cosmetic dentistry, but like cosmetic dentistry where there's like, yeah, right. But you're talking about coist and like, if you're able to find a niche that you like, you can service yourself in a way that when patients come to your door, they know their problem already. You're the solution. So instead of me telling them all these issues they have, I'm telling them how I can fix all their issues. And for me, that's really rewarding. And it takes away a little bit of that hitman aspect where, and that makes it so much more enjoyable for me. And it allows me to see myself in this career for a long period of time because I enjoy it. Instead of going to work every day, the patient's telling me, man, I hate you. The dentist sucks. And now I have to get 4 crowns and a filling. I thought I came in here scot-free. And you know what? The dentist across the street said I was fine. They said I didn't have it, and it was totally good. So I do like that, the aspect of full arch focused dentistry where they come to me and they're like, doc, I need all my teeth out. How can you help me? And I'm like, perfect. I'll tell you exactly what I would do. These are the options you have, and we can go from there. So that's something that, I really, really enjoy about that.
Well, don't stop talking about that. Don't stop telling other dentists, that there's a way to like become the healer, because that's what Don Coyce talks about. Like we, at the end of the day, we want to try to change the narrative of a dentist going from the hitman to being a healer. And that's really what you described is exactly what that is, is, we didn't cause your problem, and I'm not here to berate you about how we got there or to, shame you, for, having your teeth the way it is. Like I'm here to help you. And, starts by just what you said, like starts by how may I help you? Like, what do you desire? Because sometimes I see this a little in full arch. Sometimes our desires to do a certain procedure will drive the case, and we will miss sometimes the patient's desire for maybe something else.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I have a lot of it starts by prejudging people, and like it's the hardest thing not to do in dentistry. And when you learn not to, it opens the doors. And what I'm talking about is, we all thin slice everybody that walks in the doors in nanoseconds by like, some people call it your fight or flight, but like we thin slice them in like, oh, they look dirty, they talk funny, they don't have any money, they drove a piece of shit car, like whatever it is. And all of a sudden you're like, God, am I going to go into my whole full arch fix, thing, or like, I think they'd be a better overdenture candidate.
Yeah.
And early in my career, like the hard thing about it for me was I was in a town of 1,000 people. I knew most of the people. And my perception was that person can't afford this. So I would just go straight to the overdenture and hope that I could get that. But the reality is, if you do a good job of showing them value in what you're doing, the healing portion of it, because we all want to be healed, right? So when you show them the healed portion, they may not be able to afford it. But you know what? Their dad, their mom, their brother, their aunt, their sister, like they may borrow the money, they may go to Proceed, they can do all these things, but they don't know that they can do those because we didn't show them, because we shut down when we saw them drive up in the rusted out Corolla.
Yeah.
Yeah. And dentistry is hard in that aspect because we do prejudge people. And when we can open our minds to just talking to every single patient about what is possible for them,
could happen,
and then let them decide.
Hey guys, I just want to take a beat to talk about one of our sponsors, SIN 360, specifically their full arch digital workflow. Here at the Fix Podcast, we've been using SIN for about 2 years, and one of our favorite integrations from this workflow is the Micron Mapper. Photogrammetry is an absolutely pivotal technology that has changed the way full arch is being done. It's allowing us to capture implant scans in under 5 seconds with micron level accuracy that's beating any type of scannable verification jig or analog verification jig, what have you, and it's able to do it in under 5 seconds. And guys, SIN 360 is absolutely giving this thing away right now for $699 a month for 39 months with 0% financing. Think about that, $699 per month. That's about the cost of an analog conversion or fabricating an analog verification jig, or maybe even just a scannable verification jig. So I highly, highly, highly recommend you try this out. It's one of the most pivotal investments that you can make in a full arch digitally capable practice. To learn more, visit sin360.us/thefixpodcast and get yourself a Micron Mapper today.
Absolutely. The first thing that I ask in a consult is, what is your goal here? Why do you, every patient, first thing I say is, what is your goal? And then, like you said, maybe they don't have enough money to afford the procedure, but if their goal is to get into a fixed, they don't want their denture anymore, they're sick of it, or they come in with, bombed out teeth and they're not interested in a denture and they just want to get something that's fixed into place. Well, I'll at least go through my whole consult with them, and I'll work with them as much as I can to get them there, or at least give them some ideas, so that way when they're ready for it, I'm here for them. Or, if their goal is they just want to smile and they don't care about if it's fixed in a place, they just want something to replace their teeth, well, then of course I'm not going to go into the whole fixed spiel. So I think it's important, like you say, to get an idea of what they're there for, and what, and once you know that, you can tailor your presentation towards that, and you are going to get so much more success with, one, closing the cases, and two, with at least, they're going to think that you're listening to them. So they're going to appreciate that. And whenever they are ready to get whatever they need done, you're there for them, and they're not going to go to anybody else because you were the one that was actually there listening to them.
Right.
One of the most basic desires of the human is to be heard. Mm-hmm. And we sometimes don't give them the opportunity to speak the way they do. And I think you are exactly correct. I feel it's really important to, ask them those questions, right? And then and then shut up and listen or let them talk.
Yep.
And I know we're on time frames and things, but like, when you're talking about a dual arch and the money and stuff, like they deserve to be heard. And, maybe being heard is like telling you that they didn't like, where they were at is in their dental journey. They may be being heard is like, I made it 20 more years than my parents, before they lost their teeth, or my grandparents, whatever it is, right? But like they want to get it off their chest and they want to talk to you about it. And then when they've been heard, the conversation is over, and now you can go to work in fixing them, and then they will feel like they can go forward with treatment, because, my God, the doctor, he listened to me.
Yeah.
He listened to me, and he laid out a game plan that, that I understood, and found a way for me to afford to be able to do that. And that person is what you're trying to create. And that's a raving fan.
Yep.
Like you're trying to create raving fans, and hear someone out, and you'll create a lot more of them.
Yeah, and I think that really is the key to flipping that whole problem solution dynamic you were talking about, because if they lead with the reason that they're there and all the things that their conditions have taken from them, then you're presenting a solution at the end. But if you just lead with trying to fit this person into a box, then you've created a problem for them, and they're trying to run away from it. It's not like they've kind of led themselves to water. You're trying to just drag them to it, and that's just not going to create a fan, like you said.
If you take that, like that, if you operate in that domain in your practice, like, you'll have an abundance of patients. But then, you take that out into the rest of your life, and that is like, listen, like, most people just need to get out of their own way.
Yeah.
And I know you hear that sometimes. You're just like, that's kind of corny, but like the reality is, like, the only self limiter you have in life is yourself. And like, you want to, you guys know it. Like in 2010, I left my hometown of 1,000 people, where I built this big Dodge model to myself for a practice, and I decided, I was doing. It's not a brag thing, but I was doing 320 implants a year pretty consistently.
Okay.
Onesies and twosies, and then some overdentures, but like not, real big fixed work like that. And I decided, like, that's what I want to do. So I talked to my family, and I said, listen, we're going to move 2 hours north to Rapid City, South Dakota, and we're going to I'm going to open an implant only practice from scratch. I'm going to rent 2 operatories from an oral surgeon who doesn't place implants, and I'm going to make my business completely referral based from the other dentists. Like, no outside marketing, no direct to consumer or anything like that. And you can imagine, like, most people in 20, it's a different environment then too. It's like that guy's crazy.
Yeah.
And I remember dentists told me, like, you can't do that. I was like, well, maybe it proves out that I can't. I said, but would you let me into your office? Could I buy your office lunch and talk to your team about what it would be like to implement good implants into your practice and have restorable implants for you? Because if you could see yourself doing that, I think that I could show you a way to serve your patients and, even be more profitable at it. And, I did lunch and learns in every damn office that would let me in. And I bought lunches and cookies and bagels. And like the fastest way to a dentist's office is through the stomach of the front desk. And I would I would serve that community. And, when I left, when I moved to Scottsdale, the second epiphany, that I did was like, you know what, I'd done this implant thing like that. And, my next, and I got divorced, so I didn't have to convince my family to move again, but my kids were grown. But I was like, you know what, I'm going to go make my living giving back and teaching. And people are like, nobody does that. Hoist and Spear are like really the only people that like just make their living in education. And I was like, well, why couldn't I? I said, like I can only do so many implants with my hands.
Yeah.
But
Totally got you.
training people to go do that. I mean, like think about the people that I can serve, by secondary intent, right? As it goes out there, and
Exponential impact.
yeah, and that's what I set out to create. And, I didn't know, like, where I'm at today. Like, I had no idea that's what I would be doing, but like, I knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it just kind of morphed in along the way. And I'm super happy to be in that space.
Have you ever sat down and kind of done the calculus on, how many doctors have come through Pathway, maybe an average amount that they're placing per year, and just try to kind of get an idea of how many implants have sort of been placed as a secondary result of you starting Pathway?
I thought about doing that before. I asked my license one time. I'm just like, hey, listen, like, like, there's myself, and then there's, like, the accounts that, that may have been created from, Pathway. And I'm just like, do you have a number? And they were just like, it's got to be a lot.
And then
it's like, well, like, I mean, that's great, but like, what's the number? And they're just like, yeah, like, we're just like, we don't know. Like, do you really want to know? And I was like, no, I'm not about numbers, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even like to say, like, how many implants I did when I was back in my own little hometown. But like the reality was, I set out to, in my little hometown, like, I set out to, I had a motto that we had on the top of our whiteboard in our break room, and it was, no dentures, partials, or bridges. That was my motto. And like, there's almost exceptions, right? Like money and bad bone and bad humans and stuff. But like there's always, but our I call it an implant focused practice, and that is, like, we're going to provide true tooth replacement solutions for our patients.
Mhm.
And I told, it kind of just goes back to, like, I try to put these life experiences in, in day one of, the fast track. And I tell them all, I said, you're all going to be in a little bit of an ethical dilemma when you leave Pathway. But they all kind of look at me like, what does that mean? I said, well, like, all of you are just in general dentistry right now, and you're going to go home. And I guarantee you, by the end of the month, like, you're all going to have done a bridge. And I said, like, the ethical dilemma for me, and maybe I'm not putting you in one, but like, the ethical dilemma for me was, I couldn't in good faith tell my patients to have a procedure done that I would have never had done to myself.
For yourself.
Right? Like if I had the ability to have an implant in a missing tooth site, regardless of the conditions of the other teeth, because like that doesn't matter. Like, it's not something that I would have done to myself, and I can't do it to someone else. And it's not an elitist standpoint. It's just like, I don't want to do that. And it causes you to sometimes turn a patient away. And it's usually the one that's like, well, my insurance pays for the bridge. It's like, well, like, listen, like, if you broke your arm and your insurance only paid for an amputation, like, you'd probably pull out a pocket to, like, keep your arm. And, my assistants are always like, oh, that's such a terrible analogy. And I said, I know, but like your teeth are fucking important.
Yeah.
Like stop.
Yeah.
It's the same.
It is. No, 100%. That is, I actually, I like that analogy.
It's not bad.
It's good. I might have to use that.
It's not bad.
I think I learned from someone else too, so I should have taken mine.
Okay, so just going back a little bit, just so I get a full scope, because I don't really know your whole story. It sounds like you lived in a small town, and then you moved, did your own implant office, and then you went and started Pathways. Is there some stuff I'm missing in there? We'd love to kind of listen to the whole journey to where Pathway is now. And then, even going into maybe how Pathway started, what you first started offering, and then what Pathway has to offer
how
now.
it grew as an operation. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm from a small. I'm the fifth generation to grow up on my family's cattle ranch and farm as well. And um, I don't know anything other than cows and wheat. Like my dad's a fourth generation. My brother still works out there. Like I don't like. I didn't have dentistry in my blood, nor when I went to the University of Nebraska, in 1989, like it was to drink beer, watch college football, and get an ag degree and go back home and do the same thing that the five generations before me, the four generations before me did themselves. And I got into implant dentistry, or I got into dentistry from a mentor who actually turned out to be my implant mentor, Roger Plooster in Lincoln, Nebraska, who's also from my hometown. There's only two ABOI diplomates in the entire state of Nebraska, and they're both from my hometown of 1,000 people in Western Nebraska. Like it's kind of on and on.
Wow.
Like, but anyway, I ended up going to dental school in Oklahoma, and I had met some great people and got a great education. And I went home and practiced, and then ultimately bought out my childhood dentist. Along the way, should have in 80 or in 98, I'd made a trip to Napa when I was in dental school to present an ASDA paper, big ASDA meeting in San Fran, and went to Napa Valley and up even to Spring Mountain, and got the bug. So went home back to the ranch, and I planted a vineyard.
Wow.
Planted 5 acres of wine grapes in Nebraska, and then in 2000, started the third bonded winery in the state of Nebraska. Then in 2006, I sold it to my winemaker, and I sold it because the dentistry and the implant dentistry in my practice was taking off, and you just the money that the money I could make and support my family there was just so much different than agriculture. So I moved. That was my first entrepreneurial activity, was planting a vineyard, selling it, and building it up and selling it. And then I'd gone, obviously in the early 2000s, I'd gone to Mish. It was the only place you could go, and I went to learn from Carl himself out in Detroit. Went there 9 times to learn, and came home and I implemented it. And the people on Western Nebraska, like rural farmers and ranchers, they have money, but they don't spend it unless they see a value in it. Like they're kind of a tough sell, because they don't if they don't see the value in it, they're not going to write a check for it. And so I'm able to talk their language because I'm from that, and business took off, and implants, and I found, like you guys, like implants is all I want to do. It's the gratification and the job satisfaction that I got from it, I didn't get from anything else in dentistry. And I think that had I not got into implants, A, we wouldn't be talking, but B, I don't know if I would have stayed a dentist, and I think I would have probably ended up just ranching and farming with my dad, because that was more passionate than I was for general dentistry. And I think I would have went that direction. So in around 2009, I started, it was a tough economic time, but I really wanted to do more implants. And I was like, the only way I can, I'm maxed out on my area. They were already starting to drive hundreds of miles to see me, because there was no one else out in this part of the country placing implants. And I was like, I need more people. So I moved 2 hours up to north, or up to South Dakota, to Rapid City. And, I went from a town of 1,000 people to some more zeros to almost 100,000. And I started marketing myself. And so I went from general dentistry to a implant only shop. And I ran that I was there from 2010 to mid 2017. And then I moved down here, and I'll come back to that in a second. I moved down here, and you probably know or have heard of Chris Barrett.
We just had him on. We just had him on like a couple.
I don't know if he said that or not.
He did.
Chris went from general dentistry to implants he moved to Rapid City, and was my associate in there during the years, that during my divorce. But when I went off to go get into Implant Pathway, and the way it came about by really, BioHorizons and iCAD and some of the imaging places, like they started asking me if I would speak to like these study clubs. And like, I just remember like like today I would never actually do what I did that day. And it's because the first gig I had was in Albany, New York at the Albany County Study Club. And actually it was the Albany County Oral Surgeons Study Club. And I was to go up there and talk about restorations on implants. And from Rapid City, South Dakota, I flew from Rapid to Denver, Denver to Newark, Newark to Albany, all day long. So I had to leave on Wednesday to do a Thursday night presentation. And then you can't leave that night. So then it was all day Friday to come back. And I literally did it for my travel and expenses. And, so you took 3 days off, and I fucking loved it. Like, it was like, and you got good reviews, and they started asking you to do it more and more. And then I had the conversation with, it was Steve Bogan, who's the CEO of BioHorizons, who would be an amazing guest for you on this, by the way.
Definitely, we should get him on.
Love it. Yeah, that'd be great.
Because these guys, I mean, there's a couple of biomechanical engineers, that started BioHorizons in Birmingham, Alabama, and it's now the third largest implant company in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it in 30 years. Like that. Like, but anyway, he at the same time, around this time, Carl Misch got sick with a glioblastoma. And Steve was like, there's going to be a void, Justin. And he goes, like, there isn't anybody out there that's got, the kind of passion that you do. And he kind of encouraged me to, do some more courses. Wasn't like necessarily, hey, go create this like big thing, like you should step into that. And he goes, because you're one of, I was one of two of Carl's first masterships that he gave. So like, it was the right time for me personally as well. So went down there and leased out this 8-chair old clinic and put some chairs in there and some computers, and convinced Acteon to drop a CVCT in there, because I didn't have any money to like build this Taj Mahal or anything. And that's how it got started. And Chris Barrett was working my office back in Rapid, and he was flying down, basically every other week, to mentor the courses and and teach with me. And I just remember one day, Chris said, yeah, because I don't think I really want to live in Rapid anymore. And I was like, I don't like going, shit, Then I was like, Justin, like, you don't either.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, you're right, man. Like, so I said, well, what do you want to do? And he's just like, I don't know. And he's like, I love Scottsdale, and I hell up there all the time. And I said, you know what? I said, let's pack up everything in Rapid. Let's find a space in Scottsdale, and let's drop it in and let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how, his office, and ultimately was the Brightly thing.
Yeah.
Ultimately that's how it got started by, instead of just pulling the plug and Rapid, I just like, shit, we got a whole office full of stuff. Like, we don't need anything. Just let's find a different place. We moved out, and that part's, Chris is, a dear friend of mine, and one of the most gifted surgeons that I know.
Amazing.
And if I was to say something about him, I would tell you that you'll be hard pressed to find someone that is clean, as clean of a surgeon as him. Like, his incisions are always on point. They're always full thickness reflected. The alveoli is like he put a planer on it, and like you run it through a damn table saw, like it's perfect. And he's he's good human.
Yeah. Which
checks a lot of boxes for me. So we went through we grew Pathway, through the years of 2020 came around, COVID came around, and there was we really needed to expand the clinic. We needed more chairs for the surgeries, and in March. March was kind of funny because we're leasing this new space, and so we signed this lease for this new space, and then COVID hits, and then I'd hired Steve Vorholt, and literally he moved to Arizona 6 days before we closed. The world closed, and I was just like, "Yeah, sorry, buddy." Like,
Good timing, bud.
but at the end of the day, him and I spent, we spent all the lockdown like redoing lectures and paperwork and like fine tuning the machine and doing the things that he did. And I took a gamble on myself, and I was like, you know what, this is going to wreck a lot of people, but like when we come out of this, like people are going to need education. And so we put the hammer down on building out that space, and shit, we did our first live surgery. We closed the 20th of March, and we did the first fast track, I think the 2nd or 3rd of May.
Oh, wow.
Like we were like, and Arizona was open, and so many of these things, hell, Washington was closed for almost 6 months, so like, all these people came there because their practices were still slow or not open, and they had some COVID money, and shit, we just started like, and that's what just really like ramped us, because we kind of had center stage without anyone else like in that parameter. And the people that are involved with Pathway, the mentors, like I'm only as good as the people that I have around me. And like there's some OG mentors that are the best of class, and they give their time, and we put out, I think we put out a good product. And I know this from all the docs out there that do a good job, and like that's what I'm most proud of. Like I'm proud of my boys. Proud of my 2 boys. Like that would always be number 1 for me. But second off would be, I'm proud of the environment and the family that we've created with Pathway, because that's like that is my family.